A report by KPMG came out in October that said 73% of Canadian students now rely on using AI to complete their schoolwork. And as an instructor, this can seem like a cause for alarm in many ways, but when you look at this report a little bit more closely, it doesn't seem so scary. And I want to break it down with you so that you can know how to look at things like this, with scrutiny, but also to understand why we should be very wary of making AI adoption itself be something we should be worried about as instructors towards students, because there are lots of underlying things that these reports often don't cover, which I think we should be much more wary about in education. Now, let's take a look and see what some of the key findings of this report are. So down here, we can see a few things. There's the whole relying on AI statistic. We can also see that, 48% say their critical thinking has deteriorated since they started using it, but then 65% say that they feel that their peers are using it to avoid critical thinking. So they feel like they themselves are maybe not so bad, but their peers are. Then some more interesting stuff. 45% say that AI is their first instinct when they receive an assignment. They feel like they are cheating when they use generative AI. That's 57% feel like they're cheating. It's pretty decent number. 54% worry they'll get caught for using generative AI. And then 77% want their educational institution to offer AI courses. And the interesting thing about this bullet point over here is that they also make it seem like one of the key conclusions is that, nearly 80% of students want their institutions to offer these kinds of, AI courses. Which AI courses is not very clear. And more than that, it says that they want those AI courses to be foundational to put their critical thinking skills to work, which I'm not even sure if that last sentence is exactly English, but let's assume that 80% of students want their educational institutions to offer AI courses of some kind to be foundational for their critical thinking. The question I had is, who are these students, right? I was looking originally for demographic data to understand, gender, ethnicity, financial situation. But when I scrolled all the way to the bottom of the report, I found something a lot more bizarre. The report was conducted on 3,800 Canadians, only 684 of which were students, and then only 73% of those students used AI. So now we're at like 500 students are, users of AI that are being surveyed. And then more interestingly, it says here that 35% of those people that use the AI are college students, 32% are university students, 15% are in high school, 9% are post-grad or part-time students, and 9% are in technical, trade, or vocational schools. So that nearly 80% that wants their educational institution to offer AI training, who is that? Was it the 15% of high school students that wanted that? Or was it a mix across all of them? From my perspective, I'm a university instructor, so I care mostly about that typically. I did the math and it's like 160 students, okay? That's on the university side. And I don't even know what aspects of these ratios that they're giving us here are for university students only, or if it's across all of them. It seems like it's across all of them, but it's very hard to make any meaningful conclusions from this because the needs of university students compared to the needs of vocational school students, high school students are not at all the same thing. So the numbers already have started to make a lot less sense to me. They're a lot less convincing that there's any kind of warning signal that we can react to as educators that makes any sense. But the reason why the 80% of students want their educational institution to offer courses is interesting is because KPMG sells things like this, right? I'm not holding this against them. Every company creates reports that benefits a service or product that they sell. Are we supposed to take this to mean that universities and schools should start introducing AI classes? And what do we mean by AI classes? Do we mean prompting? Now, let's scroll down a little bit more and look at the other survey findings. I love this. Other survey findings, as if what we saw up there was the most important stuff, things related to cheating, completing exams and assignments, and the 80% that want classes. But then in the other findings, there are some numbers that are really important, and they're just tossed down here at the bottom. So some of these are things like 71% say their grades have improved after using AI, which is, cool. But then 66 say that even though they get better results, they feel like, they're not retaining anything. So is school about grades or is it about learning? This is something that we haven't figured out still. If I'm an instructor, I don't really care about the 71% getting better grades with AI. It doesn't tell me anything. If then 66% are telling me that they're not retaining the information. Odd that this is in the secondary findings or other findings. Then there's some other stuff down here. Like 64% are concerned about entering the job market as AI eliminates entry-level roles. Okay, so maybe that's where we see the connection. But again, is that 64% the students or is it the people in the vocational training? Not sure. That stuff matters. It matters who is, scared that entry-level jobs are being eliminated, because if this report is trying to get schools to react to something, I want to know at what level I'm supposed to teach this stuff. Let's carry on, because I think the last four numbers in the other findings are by far the most interesting. First, we see that 57% say their peers are relying more on AI instead of human connection. How is this other? This is crazy critical. These students are feeling like they have to connect with an AI. Here, 52% say that they trust AI more than humans sometimes. 51% say that using AI makes them feel less lonely. And 52% say that AI provides emotional support when they need it. Did we just put all the interpersonal confidence, feeling like a good, feeling like you have friends as other findings? And again, which age group? Something tells me that the ones who feel this way the most are less likely to be the ones in postgraduate education. For example, there are studies that show that when students have lower self-control and lower self-esteem, this was a study conducted in Spain, in a university in Spain, I'll put the links to everything in the description as always, that if you have low self-control or low self-esteem, you're much more likely to use AI in toxic ways. And as a result, that can make you less likely to be reflective when using it and more likely to depend on it to replace social connections, which in turn furthers your dependence on it. And thus you're less likely to want to hang out with people and you end up in a spiral of psychosis, as we've seen on many, many reports of how people develop an attachment to these AI systems. By ignoring things like gender and ethnicity, we're missing out on understanding exactly what's going on and who we might be leaving behind. So let's look at a report from the Harvard Business School, for example. This was a paper that came out not too long ago, and it shows that there is a full 11% more of men that has adopted Gen AI for their studies than women. And that's on gender only, and that's only in North America. And yet, that report is just bundling all the students together as if there's something to be gleaned from 80% wanting AI courses. Like, look, maybe that's a good idea. I just don't think so. I just don't think that the difference between, students succeeding with AI and critical thinking and learning to love themselves and love others and become good people that know how to do good things is let's introduce more AI classes in schools. Like, come on, guys. Look at this. Look at this. People are saying that they're looking for human connection. And the key result is that nearly 80% was an AI course. Come on. Come on. I know you have something to sell, but really, and university folks, let's not fall into this trap. Let's pay attention to the other factors, to the social factors, to the actually how to teach people what is artificial intelligence and not just make them complicit in everybody needs to use AI for everything all the time. So let's just replace all of university classes with some kind of like AI prompting, workshopping. What's going on? Cal, you could do better.